I don't buy your premise. It's a pretty unlikely possibility. We've never had a decline in house prices on a nationwide basis.
I urge the Congress to act quickly to address the grave threats to financial stability that we currently face.
Experts, the people that we trust to give us financial advice so that we don't have to sell our kidney for rent. You ever heard someone say something with so much confidence that you almost believe them, no matter how ridiculous it is? It's like one of your buddies that punches a punching bag one time and says that he could probably fight prime Mike Tyson.
I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What, a vertebrae or what portion?
Spinal.
Well, the financial expert world is full of people like that, but they're not your friend at the barbecue or whatever. They're experts, CEOs, guys with fancy titles to make them sound like they know what they're talking about that turn out to just be spectacularly wrong a lot of times. These are the people who said the stock market would never crash. The internet is just a fad. Bitcoin is a fraud. In hindsight, these predictions that we'll go over today are so bad that they make like Game of Thrones, the last season, look like a masterpiece. We'll start by turning back the clocks and look at one of the worst calls in financial history, back in 1929. Well, back in 1929, the stock market was booming. Investors were riding high. At the time, it seemed like stocks could only go up and everybody wanted a piece of the action.
His smile was one of those rare smiles that you may come across.
Enter our friend Irving Fisher, an economist at the time who was highly respected. At the time, he declared stock prices have risen to what looks like a permanently high plateau. Basically saying, hey guys, don't worry, this is what it's going to be like from now on. Now, I don't know how much of a history buff you guys are, but literally right after he said this was the Great Depression. Millions lost their savings, businesses crumbled, and the market fell into chaos. Meanwhile, our good friend Fisher here, he doubled down at the same time that soup kitchens were lining up people out the door. It was basically like looking at a wildfire and saying, don't worry guys, this is just a little campfire I built. Now let's fast forward to 2006, and this time history decided to repeat itself with the housing market. Home prices were skyrocketing. People were buying homes like Pokemon cards. Banks were hounding out mortgages to anybody with a pulse. Experts assured the public that real estate was a safe bet at the time. David Luray, the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, wrote a book on it saying why the real estate boom will not bust and how you can profit from it. Title alone should be a red flag in itself. I feel like that's like similar to somebody selling a drop shipping course in 2025. Of course, 2 years later, the whole housing market collapsed and the economy just nosedived. That book, by the way, quietly went out of print. It's basically like giving people who are boarding the Titanic on why the Titanic is unsinkable. All right, now let's take a break from that economic doom and gloom and look at the internet. In 1995, Newsweek confidently published an article saying that the internet was just a passing fad. The writers argued that nobody would do things like shop online, get their news from online sources, or online bank. Fast forward a few decades, and I don't know about you, I don't want to speak for you, but I kind of use the internet pretty often. The ironic thing about the whole thing is, if you want to read that article, guess where you're gonna have to read it? It's on the internet. Talking about tech disasters. Let's rewind to 1997 and talk about when Apple was struggling to stay afloat. The company at the time was bleeding money and everybody thought it was doomed. That's when Michael Dell, CEO of Dell Computers, was asked what he would do if he ran Apple. His response: I'd shut it down and give the money back to the shareholders. Today, Apple's worth $2.8 trillion. And for Dell, I mean, I don't think people are camping outside Dell waiting for the new laptop to come out. Imagine being so confident about a take, you miss out on one of the most profitable companies in history. But there's one company that takes the crown for the worst prediction of all time. It has to be Blockbuster's response to Netflix. Back in 2008, Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix for $50 million. They passed on it. Not only did they pass at it, they laughed at the offer. Today, Netflix is worth over $250 billion, and Blockbuster has one store left, and it's basically just a nostalgia museum. Basically like having the opportunity to buy Amazon back in the day and then be like, no, people are always going to love shopping at Sears. No list of bad financial predictions would be complete without Bitcoin. Back in the 2010s, banks, financial analysts, everybody couldn't stop laughing at the whole idea of it. JP Morgan's CEO, Jamie Dimon, even laughed at it, saying that Bitcoin is a fraud that will eventually blow up.
Bitcoin itself is a hyped up fraud. It's a pet rock. It's okay, Rocky. You go when you feel it.
And to be fair, I'm not sure what he meant by blow up, because in one way of looking at it, he could be exactly correct. It did blow up. And after Bitcoin skyrocketed, guess what bank quietly started acquiring it? It's like making fun of Crocs when they came out, and then all you wear now is just Crocs, especially the stupid ones with like a foam bottom, which kind of ruins the whole purpose of it. You can't put it in water. What's the purpose of it? And if Bitcoin wasn't embarrassing enough for the skeptics, then there's Dogecoin, which was literally created as a meme. Experts dismissed it, maybe properly, but they dismissed it saying it will never be worth more than a cent. Then Elon Musk tweeted about it. Suddenly Dogecoin was worth billions. Investors who bought in early made insane returns. So I guess the question I have for you is, what's going to be the next worst financial prediction? Some people are saying AI is just a fad. Some people are saying the US is going to pay off its national debt here soon.
Not around here, partner. Not around here.